investigate, and on the morning of February 19th, an employee was sent to the roof to check the supply. The water was held in 4 cylindrical 1,000-gallon tanks and was pumped directly from the city's main water board. In one of them, he found Elisa's decomposing body floating face up, a foot below the surface. The police were called, and by noon that day, the tank had been completely drained so that firefighters could cut it open and retrieve her body, since the opening of the tank was too small to accommodate the necessary equipment. Her family was notified, and an autopsy was scheduled for later that afternoon. After 2 days, the coroner's office ruled that the cause of her death had been accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder being a significant factor. It was theorized that she had suffered from some sort of psychotic break, made her way to the roof, and had climbed into one of the water tanks by herself, not realizing the danger in doing so. The full coroner's report was not until 4 months later, after a number of delays, and it was reported that her body had been found naked in the tank, bloated and greenish in color, suggesting that she had been there for a number of weeks. Also in the tank, floating beside her, with the clothes which she appeared to have been wearing in the elevator video, as well as her watch and room key. No signs of physical or sexual assault had been found, and there was no evidence to suggest committed suicide. No traces of illicit substances were detected in her blood, although minor amounts of alcohol, as well as small traces of a prescription medication, showed up in toxicology reports. There were many unresolved issues surrounding the case, and this reported little to satisfy either her family members or the thousands of people in online forums who had been closely following the news surrounding this tragedy. Amongst the many unanswered questions was the issue of how she got up to the roof. In the first place, it was reported at the time that the roof was locked off to hotel guests, and that any unauthorized access would have triggered alarms. Another query arose over how she got into the tank. Each one was 8 feet tall, and further sat on a 4-foot-high concrete block, giving a total height of 12 feet. The access port was situated right on top of the tank, and there was supposedly no fixed ladder in place, so the question of how she managed to get up was prominent during the investigation. Another issue related to was that the lids on the access were said to be very heavy, around 30 to 40 kilogram, and many people questioned how a petite person such as Elisa could have lifted one of them to gain access. Furthermore, many have asked how she could have closed the lid after climbing into the tank itself. There was no way she could have reached it once inside, and as we have already established, its weight would have made closing it all the more awkward. Aside from all this, there was the elevator video, which simply confused things even further. It had become something of an internet sensation by this time, and assumptions about the cause of her death were very numerous. Whilst the possible psychotic break and accidental drowning are the most accepted explanations, there are others which are far more intriguing and, we're sorry to say, far more sinister. At least to sex offenders were known to have been living permanently at the Cecile Hotel whilst Elisa had been staying there, and there are many who have drawn inevitable conclusions in this direction, theorizing that she had been murdered and dumped in the tank. There was no evidence of sexual assault, but the autopsy report, a subcutaneous pooling of blood in an anal canal, which some observers suggested was a sign of sexual abuse. The pathologist, however, stated that this could have been due to bloating in the course of the body's decomposition, and the rectum was also prolapsed. Whilst Lisa's actions in the elevator are most she does not look like someone who is trying to escape from a would-be attacker, although it is not known how much time had passed between its recording and her death. Explanations for her strange behavior, and in particular her odd gesticulations, include the possibility that she was under the influence of recreational drugs. Even though no illicit substances were found in her blood, these could have broken down during the time her body had been in the tank. Some are even open to the idea that Elisa was temporarily possessed. Describing her movements is inhuman at times, a possible connection to the Cecile's dark past and reputation for paranormal occurrences. As much as people have speculated over Lisa's actions, the video itself must be critiqued. Given that the timestamp is obscured, many now believe that parts of the footage have been subject to editing, either by the police or the hotel, perhaps to hide somebody's identity, though both parties deny this. In other parts of the clip, it appears as though footage has been slowed, and there are claims that Elisa's mouth has been picked in order to make it difficult to read her lips. Her death has also been linked to the Illuminati, with some people going as far to suggest she was killed over a post she had made on Tumblr only a few weeks prior, regarding a secret Canadian military project. And finally, comparisons have been drawn between this incident and a film which was released in 2005 called Dark Water, a remake of an earlier Japanese film of the same name. In it, a mother and daughter move into a rundown apartment building where a dysfunctional elevator and discolored water coming from the building's water supply eventually lead them to a rooftop water tank where they discover the body of a young girl. What's really odd about this is the fact that the daughter's name is Cecilia and the mother's name is Dahlia. The Black Dahlia was a nickname given to Elizabeth Short, a murder victim whose last known sighting was at the Cecile Hotel in Los Angeles in 1947. A true case of life imitating art. And the bizarre coincidences don't end there. A TV outbreak occurred in the neighborhood surrounding the Cecile. In the days after Lam's body was discovered, the screening kits they used to test patients was called Lam Elisa. This is completely unrelated to the case, but strange nonetheless. So what happened during those last moments of Elisa Lam's life? And can any of the issues surrounding the hotel's rooftop and her strange behavior in the elevator be explained? Regarding the problem of getting to the rooftop, visitors to the hotel over the last few years have demonstrated that she could have gained access via the fire escape. Not only that, but videos posted online many years before her death show a number of youths messing around on the rooftop of the hotel, somewhat suggesting that the area was not as secure as reported. Regarding access to the water supply, images taken by news helicopters on the day her body was discovered clearly show a ladder was chained to the side of one of the tanks, and that was different to the ones being used by firefighters. It is thought that this belonged to the hotel, and that it had been there for some time, and, whilst she might have struggled to lift the heavy lids on the tank's access port, it is not beyond all possibility that she succeeded in doing so. Furthermore, some people have suggested that the lids weren't even that heavy to begin with. Whether Lisa could have closed the lid from inside the tank depends on the water level at the time she climbed. It is agreed that she would have struggled to open it, as she would have had nothing to push against. The tanks were 8 feet deep. And what about her strange behavior in the lift? If you look at it in a way, that suggests she is not alone and is in fact playing a game of hide and seek with someone off camera. The video takes on a whole new meaning. It was confirmed by hotel staff that pressing numerous buttons on the elevator control panel causes the doors and the lift itself to hold for up to 2 minutes. Elisa probably would have known this. When she enters the elevator, she is not intending to ride it alone, perhaps not even intending to ride it at all, but to use it as a hiding place, hiding from whoever she was with at the time. She steps and looks expectantly out into the direction she came from, as if waiting for someone to follow her in. When that person does not appear, she takes a quick look out into the corridor, both left and right, and then steps back in. She huddles into one of the corners, ready to jump scare whoever she is expecting. when that person still doesn't appear. She waits by the door, then goes back out into the corridor side and backstepping in an aimless way, which would otherwise look odd, but doesn't, if you consider that she is in a playful mood. She then stands just outside of the elevator door, perhaps thinking to herself, "Where the hell are they?" When she steps back into the elevator, she looks slightly annoyed and realizes that the lift will soon start moving, so she presses all of the buttons to hold it in place. When she steps back out into the corridor for the final time, those strange hand movements that she does do not seem so strange. If you consider that she is talking to someone she knows is there but cannot see. Her actions suggest she is gesturing towards the lift and saying something along the lines of, "I'm holding the elevator, where are you?" The last thing we see her do is count on her fingers, almost as if she has had enough of waiting and is telling the person that she will count to 3. And if they haven't appeared by then, she will leave. She then waits the customary extra couple of seconds and walks off. We are quite confident that there was another presence besides Elisa unseen in that footage. Whether they had anything to do with her death is another matter altogether. But the question is, who or what was this other presence? Were they real or imaginary? Or possibly even of a paranormal nature? Did they accompany her to the roof? And did they kill her and dump her body in the water tank? Or did she die in some other way, causing whoever she was with to panic and hide her body? Did she climb into the water tank by herself? Experts have examined the film and deemed that, due to her relatively focused coordination and balance, she does not appear to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. She was not suicidal. And even if she was, climbing into a deep, dark water tank seems like a very frightening and undesirable way to go. There is, of course, the possibility that she was experiencing a psychotic break and hallucinating that the water tank was something else entirely. But if that was the case, why would she remove all of her clothes? Whatever the true circumstances surrounding Elisa Lam's death, there is no denying that there are still many unanswered questions. And the official narrative is presented by authorities does not quite add up. One can't help but feel something is missing here, but we'll probably never know for certain what it is. Her hearts go out to Elisa's family, and may she forever rest in peace.